A quick spoiler warning before I continue. This video will talk about the Dawntrail MSQ and specifically the final zone and the story events that take place there. I wanted to be vague and respectful of spoilers with my thumbnail and title, so I figured I'd make it extra clear here at the start to give you a chance to click away if you need to. One of my favorite aspects of Final Fantasy XIV's main story quests is how entertaining and emotionally rewarding the experience becomes when I allow myself to be fully immersed in the story and the characters. Anyone who has experienced feeling themselves be consumed by a good book to the point they are flipping the pages without thinking about it will intrinsically understand the kind of immersion I'm talking about. The world and the characters come alive in your imagination, and that psychological boundary between what's real and what's fantasy becomes transparent enough that you can imagine yourself there in the moment experiencing the events as they're depicted. The form of media in which these stories are experienced have different strengths for achieving this immersion. Books can use text to describe environments and thoughts in deliberate detail, drawing attention to things the author wants to tell the reader because they can't show it to you. Movies show rather than tell, letting the audience infer things like emotions from a character's facial expression or vocal tone, rather than explicitly describing it in detail. Video game stories are this fascinating blend that can both show and tell in unique ways, but they also have a distinct and powerful third option: the gameplay. Text might tell the reader what the character is saying. Animation might show the viewer how a character is reacting. But can gameplay make the player feel what a character is experiencing? This is the challenge the last zone of Dawntrail's MSQ achieved in a way that stunned me with just how bold and effective it was as a zone design and narrative choice. Throughout the 5th zone of Heritage Found, the story makes a repeated point of telling you how much Sphene cares about her people, and it repeatedly shows you how conflicted she is about sacrificing others to keep them alive. But as the Warrior of Light, as a player, I personally still struggled to connect with the emotional side of this story. I care about the Scions and the characters I've journeyed alongside. I care about the places that I've been and the people that I've helped. In the back of my mind, I kept wondering if the story was going to allow me to connect and empathize with this turmoil Sphene was expressing, about not wanting to let the memory of her people go. Would it be enough to simply meet and understand the endless people of living memory in order to find this connection? It was the moment at the first memory terminal where you realize there's no going back that I finally had my answer. As players, we care about the kinds of things that affect our gameplay experience. We like fun jobs to play, exciting battles to beat, pretty glamour to dress up in, and a beautiful world to experience these things within. In a brand new expansion that features a massively improved graphical update, the narrative choice by the writers and environmental designers to ask the player to be willing to let go of one of the most breathtaking zone designs in order to see your journey through to the end is nothing short of amazing. Making the choice to say goodbye and shut down the terminals, letting go of what you see and consigning it to just a memory that you carry with you afterward, perfectly encapsulates for the player the emotional and moral struggle that is being told by the other characters in the story. Whether it's the excitement of seeing Azazla descend from the clouds in Heavensward, the wonder of stepping out from the cave and witnessing a recreated Amarot in Shadowbringers, or the eerie dread of landing on Ultima Thule in Endwalker, I think the final zone of an expansion plays a huge role, not just as a capstone to the story narrative, but also in cementing how the player reflects on their journey through the story when it's finished. The dichotomy created by how living memory is experienced during the story and then afterward is key to feeling what drove the Alexandrians to build the Everkeep and create the Endless in the first place. We feel that pining as we look around the zone afterward in stony silence, and wish that it could go back to how it felt in that majestic moment when we first stepped through the World Gate and witnessed the Meso Terminal and that golden skyline. For me personally, I don't think that the story in living memory would have had anywhere close to the same experiential impact if shutting down the terminals had erased only the Endless, but left the zone more or less intact like the recreated Amarot in The Tempest. Living memory was more than just the feelings generated by reading the dialogue and watching the characters. It provided a visceral experience like no other zone or story arc in the game has done before. It's only natural to feel a conflicting mix of frustration and disappointment as a result. That's the human experience which is core to the moral of so many stories, and I think it's beautiful. I see this conflicted beauty in the final appearance of the zone afterward. Massive buildings standing ominously silent. Architecture that was alive with light and life, now cold and still in brutalist angularity. It captures the same sense of forgotten wonder that environments like abandoned factories and office spaces inspire. The sparse bits of greenery around the map stand out so strongly against the gray stones, like weeds sprouting from cracks in concrete urban landscapes. It instills in me a strange sense of nostalgia, despite having spent such a short time with this zone and its inhabitants during the MSQ. I think it's such a fascinating and effective choice by the developers to use the zone in this way, and it perfectly captures the essence of what the characters experienced in the story here. I wanted to share this video to help process these thoughts and celebrate such a bold choice by the game. I hope that maybe it was useful in some way to you as well, and I'd love to hear your own thoughts on living memory and if it helped you reflect on your experiences too. Thanks for watching.